Hi, intrepid viewers. Good to see you. Here I am, Dr. Lena, coming to you from Australia, meaning I'm coming to you from tomorrow. Okay, and one of the big things I want to look at today, as FAFO is in full swing, to offer my sociological insights into how Maga would be traveling with this. Their identity is caught up with the Yeti and how they are experiencing these things. He's essentially frozen the government, Medicaid portals, the cost of insulin, absolutely everything. How are MAGA traveling, right? So, but first, I have to share with you, it was yesterday morning, I think, and I heard the dogs bark or something. And as I came into wakefulness, who popped into my mind? Stephen Miller. Ooh, yucky poo. I know it's a clear sign I need to get out more. Okay. But I thought I have to have a look at Stephen Miller. Like he's also, I think he's brought his wife on board. And he is the architect. We know this. He is the architect of some of the most vile, dehumanizing, unnecessarily cruel, vicious, and repressive policies of the regime, including let's keep Guantanamo going. Appalling. Oh, so I'm going to have a quick look before I move on because it's countdown to the tariffs, February 1st, Canada and Mexico. Oh, it's actually all happening so quickly. Focus, Lena. Let's just have a quick look. If you're new to this channel, yes, I do use tarot cards for some questions. If you find that confronting or weird, just roll with it. You never know. Okay, so we're looking at Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, this is quite interesting. All right, let's just dive in. Okay, so his first cards. Five of Cups. This is the card of regret and loss. I think this is people who have been swept up in these fully scary ice raids and so on. It's so scary. But it's also a card of loss of prestige for the United States, not an isolated incident, right? The US is falling in front of our eyes. It's falling down the tables, first world, second world, third world, with some of the things they are doing. It's absolutely appalling. So I'm not surprised to see that. It's covered by, I call this sort of the fake nostalgia card. Oh, wasn't everything great in the 50s? Leave It to Beaver and I Love Lucy. Maybe that was the 60s, but it was all about distracting us from what was going on, which was particularly if you're a woman and you were tranquilized in the suburbs because, doctors just did that, or you couldn't have a bank account without your husband signing off on it, etc. How things were, it was still an apartheid country. Right, so let's not get caught up in this nostalgia, shall we, Steve? But it's feeding the base. Now, this Nine of Wands, I don't like my. Here's what I'm feeling about this. I think Stephen Miller might come up with the idea that for those who are being deported and are being held somewhere, because of the disaster in the agricultural industry, because no one wanted to admit that the whole industry was being kept and propped up by underpaying undocumented workers and partially documented workers, and by ranchers, orchard growers who then vote for Trump. Okay. I think Stephen Miller's going to come up with an idea where they'll say, because they're already sort of behind bars, maybe you don't have to be deported. You can work in the fields. It's forced labor, probably unpaid labor. Ooh, that is the scariest thing I've thought of or heard of for a long time. This card, which is normally my everything that the myth of America represents, bring us your huddled masses, is going to be confronted by this. What happens next? I think that Stephen Miller will be facing some legal consequences because he's skated until now. You know, I think there will, well, we know, rest assured, that the courts are going to be clogged up for the next few years with these, and there'll be so many court cases. The Supreme Court, that bastion of corruption and fundamentalism, won't actually be able to handle the volume. So courts at different levels up until the Supreme Court are going to be deciding a lot of these things. So keep tabs. We're fortunate to have very good legal podcasts to lean on. While I'm speaking of that, Michael Popock, Legal AF, did a great program the other day with the response from the Colombian president. And I'll actually put the link up. It was excellent. And Colombia, of course, sells a third of America's coffee. So the price of coffee, forget the price of eggs, the price of coffee's going to go up, right? Which will probably mean the price of fentanyl will go down. Who knows? I mean, really. All right. So next off, before I double back to the USA, I really want to have a quick look at Greenland. This is very, very, very serious. Look, Australia is a mining company. Why does the Yeti want Greenland? Strategic doesn't work in his brain. He hasn't got a strategic neuron. So he's putting that out there, national security. I think it is in a strategically useful place. That's not the point. That's not what's motivating him. It's the drill, baby, drill moment. Okay. So I had a look at existing mining in Greenland to see what's been going on. This is interesting. Hope you find it interesting. There was mining for olivine, not sure what olivine's used for, that was stopped in 2011. Gold mining was stopped in 2013. And sapphire and ruby mining was stopped in 2023 because of the environmental impacts of mining in a very delicate island environment. So people who are completely ocean dependent. Now, as an Australian, Australia went and mined gold in Papua New Guinea for decades. One of the side effects of gold extraction is cyanide, which poisoned the Sepik River, which is where most tribes of Papua New Guinea live and are completely dependent, not only for their water, but their whole subsistence lifestyle rests on the river. Greenland on the ocean. So let's have a look. Let's ask, is the Yeti going to take it by force? Is the Yeti going to take Greenland by force? It was pointed out that the relationship with Denmark, and I'm not just making that shiny, it's still a colonial project on behalf of Denmark, and Indigenous children were forcibly taken for education in Denmark too. It's not all rosy, right? I'm not saying it is. However, do you really want to be under the Yeti? Okay. Okay. I think for now, I don't think there's much wriggle room here. Okay. But for now, Denmark is freaked out, and allies of Denmark, I think this is talking about, as opposed to allies of Greenland, allies to Denmark. I think this could be Macron saying, don't make us send French troops if you invade, right? Meaning the whole of the EU. So this is a deceptive card in the sense it's usually, a card, and it is a card of mutual respect. So I think this is the EU and Denmark. This issue is much more vexing than was previously thought. Most people have zero consciousness about where Greenland is, what its history is, the 1,000-year connection with Denmark. It's not 3 times as long as the US has been in existence. It's much more important. This is a judgment call, and with this card, it's about us, and I'm really trying to encourage you in this time for those American viewers who are the majority of my viewers. Bless each and every one of you. The answer to many of your problems may actually be in the international community as opposed to in-house, where the divisions are. I think this is an international call for justice. Like, I think there would be preemptive movements happening as we speak. What happens if the Yeti decides to take Greenland? And it could happen. This is the card of ruthlessness. It actually could happen. And it's triply important because how are the Pentagon going to handle such instructions? So the Pentagon, which is huge, where are my stats for the Pentagon? I think it's 3 million people and a trillion. I think it's 3 million staff all up, that's serving members and administration and everything, and $1 trillion budget. Who will we put in charge? Oh, I know. An alcoholic from daytime television on the weekend. Perfect. I think Hegseth will be out of his depth on day one. Day one. And there's some really big questions for the Pentagon to be asking, which I'm sure they are, but I want to know what the answers are. But that's another video, and perhaps something I'll do with other readers too. Will they follow orders from the Commander-in-Chief, which they are pledged to do, unless they are illegal orders, and they are allegedly, as I understand, it's a similar convention with most countries, you are not obliged to carry out illegal orders. So that legal card was very important. So let's hope there's a legal thing gets slapped on the desk. Now, before we get to Maga, Canada, the Yeti has spewed forth that February 1st tariffs are going forward on Canada and Mexico because he doesn't listen to anybody. I think many people were hoping he was bluffing. This has been part of the problem, but he maintains February 1st. Well, I can tell you one thing for nothing right now. I don't think a single Canadian will knowingly buy a US-made product for the next 2 generations. Why would they? How dare he? How dare he? Okay. Canada has an election coming up in May, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. Let's have a look. Canada. Stay strong, true north and fierce. Have a look at Canada. Ah, shuffling well the whole time I was raving, and look what's turned up. Now, Canada, Canada is at a crossroads too. This card that I was just explaining. Now, prior to the shock election in the US, Canada was really divided, and I'm sure still is, but there's nothing like an external threat to bring people together. I think this is Canadians coming together in response to this. Yes, it's going to impact Canada, but not as much as the US. 60% of the US energy comes from Canada. Suddenly, everyone knows more about their country's trading arrangements than they did a few weeks ago, right? So three of the cups are down, two are left standing, I think, and there's the bridge in the background. Obviously, this is Detroit. Obviously the northern states are going to be more quickly impacted, but this is a card of poverty consciousness, I think, in the US. I think there will be reciprocal tariffs put in, particularly around other goods and services. This card's quite agricultural, so I think there are other products that the tariffs will be put on. Outcome. Look at this again. Like I put the cards in different parts of the 78 card deck. I shuffled and shuffled. When cards recur, pay attention. This is us. So I use this card to illustrate we, the collective. Right? Unless we wake up, we are going to see the end of democracy, not just in the US, but in other countries. So I think this is a wake-up call for Canada at a very good time leading into the elections. I'm sure Canadian viewers, you're exhausted, burnt out, frustrated, angry about everything. Totally, totally understandable. But we again need to think globally where our allegiances are. And Canada, just know we, the world, support you in this. Okay, now let's get on to the doozy. FAFO is in full swing. The leopard ate your face, my face, ate my baby's face because there's no snap anymore. This weird freezing of government departments, every portal to Medicaid or any websites in Spanish, anything that can be shut or frozen has been. Now, I'm sure you've all seen the viral video of the Kentucky head teacher, very nice lady, loves the kids, Trump voter who's astonished, mystified, uncomprehending that he's going to disband the Department of Education, leaving Kentucky. So you see the pattern, all the red states that are at the bottom of every graph for health and education are now going to be expected to live their lives without federal government, right? So let's see what's going to happen for Maga. My feel is it's not so much going to all happen overnight, but issue by issue. Now, your grandma can't afford insulin. Now, your kids don't get lunches. Now, you've lost your job that was Biden related from the infrastructure bill. You thought you had a year's work. Awesome, making plans. Gone. It's like the police unions and everyone who endorsed him, astonished. that he's doing what he's doing. So people are waking up in their own mini silos. So let's have a look here. What's happening with Maga? What's happening with Maga? Let's go. Oof. Oh, the card du jour, that and the judgment card keep turning up. All right. Now, I'll digress before I even start here. Let's talk about willful ignorance, shall we? So, people who voted for Trump and now their brother-in-law and three cousins have been picked up by ICE, right? And I remember reading a James Lee Burke book back in the 80s or something. And in the opening paragraph, he said, when I was a kid, our neighbors were proud of their ignorance. And that phrase has stuck with me for 40 years. People being proud of their ignorance. That is really different from people who might be too poor to send their kids to college but would like them to get a decent education, at least through high school and stuff. People can see that that is a pathway and an opportunity for their kids. So what MAGA has encapsulated is they have welded themselves onto the Yeti. Their identity now comes from this man. That's why it's a very painful process, and many will cling on. But this reading is saying, there's virtually no one who's unaffected by these things. Most of all, MAGA. Most of all. Underneath that, their obstacle. Now, this is the beautiful temperance card of balance and harmony. It's turned up in the obstacle position. That's how out there they are with this man, right? It doesn't matter what he says, they are incapable of actually using any critical thought. You do not need a college degree to actually look up some basic things that are going to impact you, and they refuse to do it. So balance, moderation, and harmony is actually anathema. MAGA exists because it actually is made of resentment, hatred, and displacement of why your life's not going well onto drag queens and hardworking Mexicans, right? Okay, so they're not there yet, but look at this. Fives are the struggle card, and MAGA gets two, right? Now, three, this is working together with people. So who are they working with? Well, I think word's going to go out in Magaland, and there'll be those going, oh, we thought you could trust him, or we thought he wouldn't do it, or whatever, whatever. There's going to be a watershed then with those who get it quite quickly, like now, they can actually see where it's going. Like, you know, the cataracts are coming off the eyeballs, and those who won't and can't. So there's going to be talk, this I think is social media in terms of it can also be pennies trickling down. This is going to be very, very, very confronting for GOP people who have been elected in all these states because they're going to have to explain why, right? Now, I mean, no one's not in. Oh, let me just pull another card because we've got the magician. Now, the magician Can be bad juju or good juju. And I think I know where this card is going, but I'm going to pull another couple here for the magician. Okay, all right. So the magician looks a bit like Jack Smith. Kel Surprise. Now, this is the power over them. It's like someone said it's like they've gone into this collective hypnosis, this denial, right? And so for now, he's the magician, but things are changing quickly. He's breaking hearts on a daily basis. People are actually coming up to the closed door really quickly. Oh, I think there's a sort of military aspect coming in here. I think the Yeti could actually be at risk when Maga turns, and they will turn. Someone, you know, whatever percentage of them, will be clinging on by their fingernails to the Titanic, but others are moving on ready for war. I think he's got to be very careful when they turn. Ooh, interesting. Very interesting. I will follow this up with other readers when I talk with the at Hogarth on Sunday and see what they think about this. But I think he's actually at risk from Maga. Oh my God, we live in interesting times, do we not? Well, now the price of coffee is going to go through the roof because Colombia supplies a third of the coffee. Very interesting link I will put up now from Legal AF. Okay, let's remind me. Don't go. I'm on with Linda G on Monday the 3rd at 3:30. So it's mid-afternoon PST. So work out your time zone. I'm on with Linda next Monday. So I'll see you there. Okay. Take care, guys. Stay strong. Stay strong.